Hi everyone and welcome back to our channel. Today we're gonna talk about feeding issues with babies, and specifically talking about just one issue that happened to us. And when I searched online, there were lots of blogs about it and people were talking about it. There were lots of questions. Lots of people were going through the same thing. So I think it's worth talking about this issue, specifically just about this in one video. I did mention this with her. It started, so the issue itself is that the baby starts to refuse formula too early. So they start to refuse formula around 3 to 4 months, and you're not supposed to give them solid food until 6 months. So that's the feeding issue that happened to us, and it seems like it happens to lots of other babies as well. I did talk about this quite a lot in our previous video, in the what to expect in the 3rd month, because that's when it got really bad, like the end of the 3rd month. It kind of started in the middle of the 3rd month. I did talk about this quite a lot in the what to expect in the 3rd month, and I'm gonna talk about it quite a lot in the what to expect in the 4th month as well, because that's when it all happened to us, kind of in between those two month period of time. But I thought that there are people who are just not gonna watch those videos anyways, but they might be looking for an answer to this specific feeding issue, and that's why I decided to make a specific video dedicated just to this issue and how to solve it, so to speak. So first of all, she was born 3 months early, if that's for everyone who doesn't follow my channel. So she was born in June, but her due date would have been September. So she was born month pregnancy mark, and she spent the 3 months in the hospital. And she was a very small baby to start with, not just because she was born early, but even for her age. At the 7-month birthmark, when she was born, she was almost a pound smaller than she should have been at that time, at the 28-week mark. So she was always a very small baby. So for her, feeding is for me and for her, feeding is so important, and we have been having feeding issues ever since. Hey, what about mama? People can see mama. They can just see your big beautiful baby face. Yeah, they can see me. Hello. Hello. Hello, mama see too. Yeah. Yeah. Hello. Hello. Anyways, so she was, there was always a feeding issue happening, like right from the beginning. We had some issues that was actually feeding issues in the hospital that were because the doctors decided to add stuff into the breast milk, and she couldn't digest those. So when she was just on breast milk, she had no problems whatsoever, but I didn't produce enough milk. By the time she came home from the hospital, we had to start supplementing with formula. So basically, when she came home from the hospital and we started her own formula, that's her due date, and that's she was 3 months old then, but development wise and digestive system development wise and all that, she counts as a newborn at that stage. So when I say that 3 months later she completely refused formula, that is then her development and everything is like a 3 months old baby. And even though she was born 6 months earlier. So I know it's extremely confusing, but for us it might have been a trigger. Like it is a possibility that she felt like a 6-month old, and wanted to start on solid food, and it might have been one of the reasons why she refused formula completely. But her digestive system and development and everything was like a 3 months old baby, so definitely better suited for breast milk or formula. I don't think I'm gonna be in this video, people. It's just gonna be the baby and then you just hear me in the background. Anyways, back to this point. So what I'm trying to say is that because she was born too small, and because we had the feeding issue in the hospital, and they had to kind of like starve her for a while to get the digestive system some break. She was still extremely small when we brought her home, so when she would have been a newborn baby, she was still under 5 pounds. And for me, it was always very important at stand for me that she gains weight, you know, like this was always so important because she was so small to start with that you couldn't really afford her not to eat and not to gain weight, or not to eat and just even lose weight, because she's already under the average baby for that age group, and she should probably never be a chubby kid. Right now she's 18 months old and she just passed 9 kilos, so and that has been pretty hard. The point I'm trying to make here is that when when we brought her home from the hospital and we started to add formula to her feeding, because I was producing hardly any milk by that time, then we had some issues that I did talk about in the what to expect in the first month, you know, like tummy issues. So we kind of found a formula that kind of worked for her, gave her the least amount of issues. And then that went completely fine for the first 2 months. Yes. And then when she reached 2 months, she was home from the hospital for 2 months, so that would be the same as your 2-month-old baby. Then she started to refuse formula, and then that's when I started to get tricky and try to trick her into drinking formula different ways. So first I was just breastfeeding her, and then while she was on the breast, I kind of just sneaked in the bottle with the formula, and she went really nicely just from the breast onto the formula without any issues. So that worked for a while, and then it just stopped working. Okay, so then we tried other tricks like rocking her. Like I was standing and rocking her, and then, you know, she got a little bit sleepy, and then she took the formula. And then what else did we try? We tried so many tricks and everything worked for a little bit until they didn't. So we got to a point when she just really didn't want to eat formula, and she was still falling asleep on the breast. And once she kind of fell asleep on the breast, you could sneak in the formula, and she kind of ate it basically asleep, like she was kind of asleep, but she just kind of drank the whole thing. But then it kind of get to the point that she was only eating it whenever she was going to sleep. It started out just refusing it, sometimes to the point when she completely refused it, and that happened within a month. She completely refused the formula, and you couldn't trick her into drinking it. The only way she was drinking it, maybe if she was completely asleep and started dream feeding, and then you put in the formula then. But that didn't happen too often, and you had to look for that point when she's sleeping and dream feeding. What we started to do in the last, so from the second half of the third month to pretty much to the end of the third month, was that I was just diluting the formula with a tiny bit of juice, and then she kinda ate it like that. So she was getting an extremely small amount of juice just to get a flavor, just to change the flavor or taste of the formula. I'm pretty sure I don't have to say that, but we did try different formulas. So before anyone think that we are just trying this, she refused one formula and then that's it. We didn't try. We tried every single formula out there, and she refused every single formula out there. Some of them she refused more than the others, but the Similac formula was the one that we kind of stayed with, because that's the one that she took the best. But even that, she kind of just started to refuse and refuse and refuse. So we got to the point when we were diluting it with a bit of juice, up until she completely refused it. So even if it was like juice with just 1 milliliter of formula in it, she didn't drink it. I was reading up on the blogs, seeing what other mothers are saying about this and what their solutions have been, and etc, etc. I figured out a few things. So first of all, lots of these babies, first of all, it's a big issue. Seems that lots of the babies at this 3 months, 4 months mark start to refuse the formula. So that seems to be a very common issue, and that's why we are making this video, because it seems like it's an issue that people are affected, more people affected by it than you would think. So some of these mothers obviously took the babies to the doctor, and lots of them, the mother said that their solution was that so the baby actually had acid reflux, and that's why the baby didn't want to feed. So for them, some kind of medication solved the issue. So if your baby start to refuse the formula, you might want to get that checked out. And then the other common issue, medical common issue, was lactose intolerance. And lots of babies actually are lactose intolerant, and you can buy formulas that are lactose free, and they are usually soy based. And again, that's something that your doctor can probably tell you if those are the issues. None of these were related to us, so I'm only mentioning these, that obviously you want to rule out any medical issue that might be causing your baby not to want to eat the formula before you decide to do anything else. So lots of the suggestions were dream feeding her, which we were doing at that point, but even that for us started to get to the point by the end of the third month that even when she was dream feeding, I could only get in maybe 2 doses of formula in her during the whole day when she was dream feeding, and she wasn't eating in between. And the other suggestion that I was reading on the formulas was to put a little bit of juice in it, and as I said, that worked for a little bit, and then it didn't after a while. But that's something that your doctor can probably refer you to a feeding clinic if you think that that's something you want to explore. To try that, you just don't give your baby anything to eat until she's hungry, and then she's gonna eat the formula, right? Wrong. Babies can go the whole 8 hours, the whole day of not eating. They are obviously extremely crying, cranky, and all that issue, fussy, but still refuse the formula and still not get anything in them. And that's just how it is. So I did try it, but I only went 1 day of giving her nothing. And that was kind of our last day of the formula anyway, so that was kind of a last attempt for us, because I really didn't want her to lose any weight. I wasn't trying that before. Basically, we were getting to the point when it was just it was so frustrating, because first of all, no one wants their baby to not grow, but when they don't eat, or when they start this whole formula refusal, they are getting in continuously they're getting less and less and less and less formula in, because you're trying all the tricks that works for a while, but then it only works just like maybe twice a day or 3 times a day, and she's getting less food in her by the day. And obviously, if you have, every parent has a concern of their baby not growing well enough, but in our case, it was extremely, extremely important that she keeps growing and doesn't lose any weight. So I was extremely anxious, frustrated, everything that you can imagine. I have to mention that also for some people, it is a possibility that your baby is teething at the 3-4 month mark, because there are babies who start teething that early. And that can definitely cause them to refuse any food as well. So definitely check the sign to see if your baby is maybe teething, because at least you know then why she's not eating. She didn't start teething until the 12-month mark. Anyway, so back to our issue. Actually, I've been talking so much about this that I'm gonna probably finish today's video, not just yet, but summarizing what I was just saying, without going into the solution. And I'm gonna go into the solution in tomorrow's video, because what I was talking about today kind of all over the place, and I'm really hoping you can kind of pick out the pieces and put them together like a puzzle. It's just, for us, it's been a lot of sleepless nights lately, and I'm just so completely tired, and also have a cold, and it's just a little bit hard to focus on stuff, and hard to get everything together, so it's actually sounds like something that you can understand across the video. But what I was talking about is that seems to be quite a common issue for babies to start refusing formula around the 3-4 month mark, and that's why we actually talk about this. We did this video to talk about this issue. I always want to get it checked out by your doctor to see if it's not acid reflux or lactose intolerance what's causing your baby to not want to eat, because then they can have there are solutions that you can just solve those issues. Your doctor can refer you to a feeding clinic if you want to go through all that, and if you think it might help you. In our case, I was pretty sure it's not gonna help us, so we just didn't go with that route. Your baby might be teething at that 3-4 month mark, because some babies are teething. There are tricks that you can try to get the baby to eat the formula, but for us, at least, these tricks only worked for like a few days to a week max, and then we will just keep changing these tricks until we ran out of tricks. And then mixing the formula with a little bit of juice to all the doctors are gonna cringe on this, but this is something that can help you in a few weeks, maybe, with the formula feeding before you do anything else. Doctors don't want you to get the baby any juice at all, and juice by itself is not recommended for babies or for anyone. I'm a nutritionist, so I didn't even have juice at my house. I had to go and buy juice specifically just to mix into the formula, but I was giving her a really small amount just to change the taste of the formula and make it more appealing to her. And I worked a bet that also gave us like maybe a couple of weeks before she completely refused that as well. So that's all I'm gonna talk about in today's video, and then tomorrow I'm gonna talk about how we solve this issue, and how you can probably solve this issue if you went through all this that I just did. You went through all the steps and you just don't know what to do, then I will have our solution in tomorrow's video. Thank you, and see you tomorrow.